Caregivers are often concerned that their loved ones may be vulnerable to financial frauds and scams. On today's Caring for Caregivers conversation, we talk with AARP Fraud Watch Network volunteer Dan Maul. Dan takes calls from around the country on the AARP helpline from people caught in scams and needing advice. He's very alarmed by the use of cryptocurrency by fraudsters and how crypto kiosk machines are used to drain bank accounts. Here's my conversation with Dan Maul. So Dan, thanks for being a volunteer with AARP. We really appreciate that. And you in particular are a Fraud Watch Network volunteer. Can you tell us what inspired you to join the Fraud Watch Network?
Yeah, well, after I retired, I started getting calls from Medicare, healthcare stuff, and it was fraud calls, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. So I called the Medicare office here in where I live, and they were the ones that connected me with the Fraud Watch Network. So I'm now able to return calls not only from people that are getting called about Medicare supplements or additional benefits, but the whole spectrum of fraud and scams.
So this isn't something that you were doing in your career, right? Is this something that you just picked up?
Well, yes. My career was as a registered investment advisor, which involves being a fiduciary, which means doing the best that you can for clients. And I've always had kind of a white knight streak. All of the volunteer work that I've done has been trying to help people, get them in better circumstances. Kids, I've been a guardian ad litem. And so the Fraud Watch Network is just a natural fit for me.
Sounds like that, and especially when it comes to protecting people's money, right? And keeping it in their pocket.
Absolutely.
So I have been told that you in particular have become a little bit of a crypto expert. Is that right?
Well, I'm not sure I want to publicly admit to that. I have some familiarity with crypto because of the issues surrounding fraud with crypto and the crypto kiosks that are being used.
So we're talking about crypto type scams. Like, can you share a little, just to contextualize so that our viewers understand a little bit about, like, why would we be talking about fraud in crypto?
Sure. Well, and let's start for a second, just making sure that everyone's on the same page. Cryptocurrency is kind of one of the topics these days, and I don't think a lot of people really understand it, and I'm going to put me in that same category. But cryptocurrency is digital currency. The crypto part actually refers to the advanced encryption that goes along with transactions. And everybody is aware that you can make tons of money in crypto. I mean, what's actually happened if you invested $1 in Bitcoin in 2009, today that would be worth $78 million.
Okay, well, I didn't do that.
But that gets people's attention. It's like, boy, am I missing something? Do I want to get involved here? There's actually millions of cryptocurrencies, and most of them have actually failed. Even in the first 12 months of January, there was over 600,000 new ones created. People look at it as an investment. We can talk about the pros and cons of that, but it's a quick way to send money overseas. There's low transaction fees in some cases. The privacy, this is totally anonymous. And it does come with some risks. These things, Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies are exceptionally volatile. There's no regulatory oversight, and there's no FDIC protection. The ones that are most commonly known are Bitcoin and Ethereum. But again, this is all just internet digital currency that people are buying and selling or using to pay bills or send money overseas or back home.
So how does that relate to scams, to fraud and scams?
Well, the anonymity of it is probably the single biggest factor here. And yes, it's quick. You don't have to go through a bank. You don't have to call up go into a teller or move money or whatever. You can, if you've got a crypto account in a wallet, which is basically an account, within a matter of minutes, you can send money to another wallet, and it's totally anonymous. It's yeah.
Some combination of the anonymity and the lack of regulation that can be challenging, at least at this time, right? And that was creating the loopholes for fraudsters and scammers then to take money out of our pocketbooks.
Oh yeah, easily. And people, many people, still a bunch of people that are not aware that that using gift cards is part of a scam, but people have caught on to that. There's less and less people that will pay a scammer with a gift card. And crypto, again, these scammers are good at keeping track of what's on people's radar and what's the current topics are. Crypto's up there, so we start talking crypto and people get engaged.
So let's go back a little bit to the fact that you are a volunteer for Fraud Watch, the Fraud Watch Network. Can you talk a little bit about what that volunteer experience is like? So what are you actually doing as you are a volunteer?
Well, we spend a couple hours 2 times a week returning calls that have come into the call center in Denver. The staff there, and I want a shout out to these folks in the call center, are just incredible. But they sift the calls that come in, and then we sign in online and get a list of calls to return to people who have been scammed or think they might be scammed, or the families of relatives of victims, and help them understand what's going on, talk to them how to protect themselves, give them ideas and resources.
Is there a memorable story that you have of somebody that you talked to who'd been scammed? And of course, we don't want you to share any personal detail so that they'd be identified, so that anyone could identify them. But be helpful for folks to hear, like, what are the kinds of stories that you're hearing?
How long do we have? I'll relate a story, my own story. This is a couple of years ago, maybe a little longer. I got an email from the county clerk's office that I had missed jury duty. And I thought, God, what did maybe I missed something. I didn't pay attention. Did it go to junk? Whatever. So I called the number and got the county clerk. And we went through the whole process. I identified myself, and yeah, we got your records here. You're supposed to be here on this date and blah, blah, blah. And failure to appear, there is a warrant out. There's a fine. You're being fined. And it's like, well, I guess that's reasonable if I messed up here. And because of the fine, there's a bench warrant. But we can take care of, and this was probably a 20-minute discussion. And very good. They can actually show you warrants. They can show you actual authentic documents that have been fabricated. The names that they will use on stuff like this are actually the names of employees in the county clerk's office or officers of the court. And when they started asking for gift cards to pay the fine, I knew it was a fraud. But it's so easy to get reined in on these things. And even when you think you're paying attention, everybody says, how could somebody fall for the Publishers Clearinghouse? I mean, nobody would do that. Well, sorry, it's real easy. These people are, and I don't want to use the word good, these people are exceptionally skilled at what they do.
How do they reach out to people? I mean, like, how are they contacting people?
Emails, texts, and phone calls. And a lot of them are just these, they're robo-calling until they get somebody to answer, and massive email dumps. and text message dumps. And when somebody picks up the phone, when somebody opens an email or responds to an email, or clicks on a text in a link in a text, it starts down the rabbit hole.
So, so can you talk a little bit about, so this podcast is really about giving advice to caregivers, right? And what should caregivers be looking out for as they are, caring for their loved ones, and what are the red flags that someone might be being scammed?
Well, there's a number of them. The recognizing again that nobody is immune to this. And if they're buying gift cards, if they're going to a crypto kiosk, I mean, that at that point, it's probably too late. The better things to do is to start early. And this is advice that we give to our kids. We want to get them off the internet. We want to get them outside doing things, playing, getting sports, and same thing applies to older people here. Get them engaged in social activities, get them engaged in hobbies, get them volunteering, get them involved with people and away from the internet. Particularly, social media is a minefield of where scams start. I mean, a government grant scam that goes around is you're online on Facebook with your friends, and one of your friends sends you a message and says, "Hey, I got this government grant. It's for low-income seniors. It was $250,000, and it didn't cost me anything." It's like, oh gosh, that sounds good. Yeah, here's the number, and you call the number. You're getting a scammer, and it's off to the races. Turns out that person's Facebook account has been hacked. It wasn't them; it was a scammer.
Oh, interesting.
But it's real easy to go, oh, money, yeah, older people, that's me, low income. Well, heck yeah. So it's real easy to get drawn into these things.
It's almost like if it was too good to be true, you should be aware, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the other things that I would suggest is that, and again, this is family, loved ones, neighbors, whomever that you're kind of keeping an eye on. Sit down with them and share some stories about scams. Watch, AARP has a podcast called The Perfect Scam. It's really good. YouTube has some scam baiting videos. If you want to watch, let's call them professionals, messing with the scammers, getting even, that's kind of fun to watch. I would encourage anybody or discourage anybody to not try to engage these scammers on your own. It's tempting to want to mess with them and go and get mad or yell at them, or don't. These people are absolutely, these are vicious criminals. They have no morals. They have no ethics. They have no standards. They have no compulsion to do anything and everything they can to get your money.
So, Dan, a few minutes ago, you talked about crypto kiosks, or you brought up that term. Can you tell me what a crypto kiosk is, or tell our viewers?
Yeah. So crypto kiosks are they're ATMs, but instead of being able to deposit or withdraw money from your bank account or your debit card, whatever, you can buy cryptocurrency. And not only a couple of them, generally the Bitcoin and Ethereum, the real popular ones, but they're at gas stations, they're at convenience stores, they're at grocery stores. They're easy to go to. You walk up, you enter your information, a phone number, they send you a code, you put your money in and you're buying crypto. It's that easy. Now, if for people that want to get involved with crypto, I think that there's some much better ways, and there's some real concerns about the crypto kiosks, but crypto kiosks just like an ATM.
So talk to me about how a scam involving a crypto kiosk might go.
Well, very often, all of these scams start with an email, a text, or a phone call. and it's not unlikely that you get a phone call, and caller ID will make it look like it was from the county sheriff's office or the bank, or your credit card company. They can make that caller ID look like anything they want to. And it'll start out, your account has been compromised, or we've got a transaction on your credit card from down in Texas and you live in Illinois. Was that you? No. Well, I'm looking at your stuff here and at your transactions, and it leads to being accused of being involved in gun running or drug trafficking or child porn, which scares the heck out of us. It's like, oh my God. And once they've triggered that emotion, the logic and intellect go out the window here. I don't want, what do we have to do? I want to take care of this. So they will convince them that in order to resolve the problem, whatever it is, the IRS, back taxes, the electric utility shutting off your electricity, whatever it is, they will convince them that they can take care of that problem, but we need you to go down to, the 76 station. There's a crypto kiosk in there, and I'll stay on the line with you. They stay on the line with them, and I'll walk you through this. And at this point, the victim is hooked. There's almost no hope at this point that they're going to pay any attention to the warnings that come up on the screen. And we'll say, if you're talking to a government official and they're asking you to send crypto, it's a scam. They overlook those. They will not see them. It's scary.
Yeah, really, really frightening. So these crypto kiosks are just multiplying, right? All over Washington State.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And they're most prevalent in the U.S. I think 80% of the crypto kiosks are in the U.S. And it's kind of like, well, wait, what's that? Well, you remember the old question that they asked Willie Horton about bank robbing. Why do you rob banks? Well, that's where the money is. So, in the U.S., crypto kiosks more than any place else because that's where the money is.
If I were to walk into a convenience store, how would I be able to recognize whether it's a real ATM or a crypto kiosk?
Well, you might not unless you looked at it. I mean, it's labeled Bitcoin, ATM,
Okay.
cryptocurrency. It's not a, they operate very similarly. They're the same size, but the labeling on them is going to be different.
Okay. So you have to look closely before you do
have
anything.
to look closely. Yeah. Yes.
My goodness. I think I've heard that we have now about 1,000 crypto kiosks in Washington State. I know you've been advocating to make some changes, Dan. What are the kinds of changes that we need to have related to crypto kiosks to making sure that, there are legitimate reasons for using crypto. And
I'll grant you that roughly.
okay.
There are a number of other ways to get involved with crypto that are less expensive and more secure. But using crypto kiosks, let's stay with that.
Okay.
Yes, the fees just to buy crypto in a crypto kiosk, you're paying up to a 30% premium over and above what you would at moving money through an ATM or buying a crypto ETF or something. So if you're paying a bill with crypto, you're reducing your payment by 20-25%. If you're sending money to your family, the crypto kiosk is getting 10, 15, 20% of it. And so one of the legislation that's being passed, and it's being done around the country, unfortunately not in all states, is trying to limit the fees that crypto kiosk operators can charge. So that's one thing. The other thing that they're trying to do to prevent or to limit the scam transaction is to limit the size of the initial transaction. I think in Washington State now, they're trying to get a $2,000 limit on the initial transaction so that people don't lose all of their money. I talked to a crypto kiosk, a retailer that had a crypto kiosk in their store, and they took it out because they had so many people. The owner of the store had to drive people home twice because they had ran out of money. They didn't have any more money.
They just fed all their money into the kiosk?
Fed all their money into it. Yep.
Oh my.
I mean, when people get to that point where they're so emotionally committed here, it's tough to stop them. So, and the other thing that we don't have in the bill in Washington is a refund provision. There are a number of states that have passed legislation that allow for refunds if you can prove, usually with a police report, that you've been the victim of a scam. And for obvious reasons, the cryptocurrency industry doesn't want to limit the fees, they don't want to limit the transactions, and they don't want to provide refunds. But it's headed that way. And it's interesting to note the city of Spokane has totally banned crypto kiosks.
Yeah.
Don't allow. They can't have them. There's a little town in Minnesota, which is where I'm originally from, called Stillwater. They have banned crypto kiosks. The UK does not allow crypto kiosks. So there's some real strong reasoning here to be very careful with this crypto kiosk stuff.
So, when we look at member surveys, one of the things that people identify as one of their top priorities, or one of the things that they are most concerned about in terms of their financial well-being, is fraud and scams.
Sure.
So how would you advise somebody to learn about what's going on in their community or that they might be exposed to? And how do you also not be so afraid that you continue, not worrying about it all the time?
So a couple of pieces of advice that I typically give callers. It's difficult to be able, there's just no way that you can learn about all the scams that are going on. AARP on their website does have, I believe it's a map that shows the scams that are happening in your area, but they change all the time. And, right now, for example, down in the Southeast where they've had all these storms, again, I'm sure that there's scammers calling people saying we can restore your power, but it's going to cost a little extra. That may or may not be something that people are aware of because it's relatively new. So my advice would be to stop some of this stuff before it even starts. And that is, don't answer your phone unless you know who it is. Absolutely. And this is standard advice across the board. Even with caller ID, don't answer the phone if you don't know who it is. And you can set up, every cell phone can be set up to block calls that are not on your contact list. They'll go to voicemail. And it removes the temptation to answer. We're accustomed to answering the phone. People call, and particularly we're older, we don't get out as much. We want a little social interaction. But answering the phone or returning a text or an email, that's where it starts. I got off topic there a little bit. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think that's a good piece of advice, right? Like, if you're going to pick up the phone, if somebody really needs to get a hold of you, they will leave a message.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Caregivers can keep an eye on the folks that they're dealing with. Are their moods changing? The romance scammers will try to get their victims to distance themselves from family, friends, and neighbors. They don't want them talking to them because they'll talk them out of it. So look for personality changes. If they're selling property to pay people for something, there's a sign. If they've been asked to go off the platform from Facebook to WhatsApp or something, there's another sign. But bottom line, bottom line is that the scammers want to get paid. So giving any financial information to someone on the phone or an email, absolute no. I don't care who they say they are.
Okay. So don't be putting your credit card numbers in, or your bank account numbers into an email and sending them to somebody, right?
No, absolutely. And speaking of examples, I'm kind of skipping around here, but it's not uncommon for, I talked to a caller the other day who had gotten a call from their power company, and caller ID said it was their power company. And they said, hey, we're going to give you a discount. You're senior. What's your income? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, 50. Oh, cool. Yeah, why not? But wait, they were a little suspicious. And this is something that everybody should be, is suspicious of incoming unrequested calls. Verify it. But in this case, it's like the person was, they were a little suspicious. How do I know that you're the power company? Well, we know your account number, and they read it off. I'm the employee. They read it, it gave a name. And okay, well, that sounds good. And we've got a list of your most recent transactions. You paid a bill here in January of $93.17, it looks like. Well, yeah, I did. So, of course, that's the power company. They wouldn't, how could anybody have, well, that data breach revealed all of that information to the scammers. So just because somebody can repeat all your personal information doesn't mean they're authentic. You need to absolutely verify everything.
So in that case, what would you tell a caller? How would they go ahead? How would they verify that was the utility company or not?
Well, I have one way that I'd like to say, but I can't. The other way is to say, is to politely say, excuse me, I've got some other things I need to do. I'll call you back. And then look up the number of the power company and call them. And again, go to the website, make sure that you're dealing with the power company, because scammers will pay. If you Google Google contact information for a lot of things, the scammers ads will come up first, and it's not them. I mean, for example, Facebook, if you have trouble with Facebook and I'm going to have to call them, I don't know how to do this computer stuff, you Google Facebook phone number. Facebook does not have a phone number, but Google will come up with a phone number that goes to a scammer. So you got to be so very careful, but verify anything that you are concerned about, or if you're concerned about it.
So you must have that tingly Spider-Man sense now when these scams come across your desk, yeah?
Oh, it's, I think you asked me earlier about my involvement with the Fraud Watch Network. It is totally rewarding, and it's totally heartbreaking, because these are real people experiencing not just financial disaster, devastation in some cases, but emotional. I mean, the shame and the embarrassment that goes with this. And the scamming that's going on is so much greater than we are aware of, because I think they say 70% of the people who've been scammed don't report it. I mean, I get it. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. They're feeling stupid. And it's not their fault. They in most cases, they made good decisions, but it was based on bad information.
So what would you say to somebody who's been scammed and does feel embarrassed or, ashamed of being conned?
Well, they can call the AARP Fraud Watch line, 877-908-3360, for some advice. We can talk to them about how to protect them from identity theft by freezing your credit report, by keeping an eye on your credit report to see that, what pops up. There's support groups that AARP has. Talking with someone, you don't have, what I mentioned to people is, you don't have to tell people how much you lost, but you can tell them that you fell for a scam or you almost did, because spreading the word here, you and I doing this kind of a thing, victims telling their friends and neighbors about it, is going to be one of the most effective ways to get the word out, to be careful of these things.
Dan, tell us what would make crypto kiosks safer.
There's a couple of things in the bill that's going through the Washington legislature right now that will help. Requiring a paper receipt will go a long way. If people are having a problem or need to resolve an issue, they've got contact information and all the information that's there. Warnings on the machines about the scams. So people at least are confronted with a screen that says, here's might be happening. If this is you, it's a scam. That will help. Limiting the fees that the kiosk operators get will give a lot more purchasing power if we're investing or paying bills to customers. And the transaction limits for new customers, because more often than not, the new customers are the ones that are more likely to be getting involved in a scam. And if you limit the transactions, the Washington bill limits the initial transactions at $2,000. That'll keep people from putting tens of thousands of dollars in these things as they have. So all of those things together will help reduce the money that people lose to crypto scams.
So last question. What can we do to stop the scammers?
Verify any incoming contact. Do not provide personal information to anyone that you are not absolutely 100% certain of. And if you do get drawn down the rabbit hole, as soon as somebody mentions crypto, or as soon as somebody mentions gift cards, it's a guaranteed scam. There's no question about it. So it's easy to get drawn into these things for all of us. I mean, I've talked to IT professionals. I've talked to bank presidents. I've talked to financial advisors who have fallen for these things. So trying to avoid it is one thing. Just not sending money or personal information is the other side of it.
Hey, thank you for helping to protect, our communities about, and fighting fraud and scams. It's such a big topic, and it's so prevalent, and it seemingly like almost an everyday thing. So I think getting that message out about, being aware, being thoughtful, don't share your personal information with folks.
It's a sorry state of affairs, but we can't be as trusting as we once have been. We can trust our friends, we can trust our neighbors, we can see them personally, but boy, you have to be suspicious if you're going to be safe. Okay.
Well, thank you for being a volunteer. Thank you for volunteering with AARP and the Fraud Watch Network.
Well, thanks for AARP. Thanks for AARP for doing this kind of stuff, because it does make a difference.